Okay, so well, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Super. Lovely to see you on day 5 of the Wellbeing Week. It's our final day today. This is our last webinar we've got. We're very delighted to have Dominic Greenwood from HR Solutions. He delivered our event on Tuesday, the mental health awareness, and we're doing mental health in the workplace today. So a bit more specifically about the workplace. Great to see you all. And thank you very much to HR Solutions who have sponsored our event this week. Been just absolutely delightful. I've enjoyed every minute. I hope you have as well. Without further ado, I'll pass over to Dominic.
Thank you and good morning, everybody. I'm just going to wait to take control of the presentation. Do I need to take it back, Kate?
Yes, you just need to start sharing the screen again.
Give me 1 second, just to do all of this technical madness, and I'm hoping you can now see that. See that?
Perfect.
Does that move?
Yes.
Give me 1 second. Has that moved?
Yes, there we go. Lovely.
Brilliant.
Thank you, Dominic.
No, that's fine. So yeah, obviously very privileged to be here again, and thank you for the people that have attended both sessions, and I can certainly see some friendly and memorable faces from the first session. So that's me. I'm hoping you can now see a picture of me. My name is Dom Greenwood, and my role is all about health and safety, environmental management. And my background really is sort of 25 years in the leisure and fitness industry, managing health clubs and leisure centres. So you'd probably ask, well, how's that brought me to being here? A massive part of my role was safety, health and well-being of not only staff, but the buildings and facilities that we ran. And more recently, I was head of compliance and safety for the Energy Fitness Network, with over 100 franchises across the UK and Scotland, Ireland and Wales. And my job was to go around those and make sure that all of the safe working practices were in place and look after people and all that kind of stuff. The last 3 or 4 months I've been working with and for HR Solutions, and for those of you that don't know, HR Solutions is a company that provides expert and outsourced HR and health and safety knowledge, consultancy and support for the workplace, and includes other services like payroll, recruitment and stuff like that. And my role really has been about building a health and safety division that can support SME businesses across the UK, and I'm really pleased to have been asked to come and do this event again today, which is great. So our agenda and what we're going to be talking about really is again around mental health, but obviously it's more geared towards the workplace, where Tuesday's session was more geared around just a general and sort of awareness session. And this time we're going to kind of cover legislation and guidance. We're going to look at sort of work-related stats, how you can build a positive culture if you're an owner, maybe an MD, a chief executive, or somebody in a senior leadership team. Different steps to mental health. There's various documents you can use, from documents that we could help you with as a partner, or documents that you can just gain yourself from maybe online. And then again, the same as Monday, there'll be some useful links to have a look at. There's a wealth of knowledge and information, as you'll appreciate, on the internet that you can look at. Some of it's really, really good. Some of it is a bit misleading. And interestingly, I teach a level 2 and level 3 course that I was just talking to Kate about before we all came on. It's a delegated course. And part of that is thinking about how the media portrays mental health and whether it's in a positive or negative way. And I think there are pros and cons for both. So and then just thinking about some further training, should anybody wish to do anything further and gain maybe a nationally recognised qualification, I can help with that. We've got some courses coming up, and obviously in the new year as well, there will be training coming up. If anybody would like to be involved with that, I'd be more than happy to welcome people onto that training. I've just put there really about if you can just think about your mics, if you want to put them on mute until maybe the end of the session when we'll go through questions. There's a number of people on the session today, and I can see that everybody's now pretty much done that, so thank you. That's good. And again, any questions, I think Kate's going to field those towards the end of the presentation. I'm also more than happy to take those offline. I'm going to give you my personal details at the end of the presentation, and I'm more than happy to accept phone calls, emails, whatever it might be, and have a chat with anybody about anything safety related, but also mental health related as well. Can I have a thumbs up from everybody, just so I know you're still listening? Yeah, yep, thank you very much. Okay, so workplace mental health. Well, I think just leading on from the session that we talked about on Monday, I think we've all got to realise that mental health is with us, and we talked about it's with us from an early age. It's through our teens and adolescence, and it's into our adulthood as well. And it will come as no surprise that then comes with us into the workplace. And again, people that are suffering from mental health or mental health illness often find it difficult to gain work, to continue in a role, unfortunately, sometimes due to the illness that they have, but also sometimes due to the medication that they're on. But there's a number of factors that can affect mental health in the workplace. Mental health problems can develop outside and inside of the workplace. So it's important to know, as maybe as an owner, manager, somebody in a senior leadership role, that it may be that somebody has gained employment with you and haven't had mental health issues, but unfortunately that throughout their tenure in your workplace, they may have gained mental health issues or illness, and that could be because of the work they're doing. It could also be because of the culture in the workplace as well. So there's several internal factors which can have a negative impact on your mental health and make it harder to cope with, and this would include obviously unmanageable workloads, long hours and increasing pressures. And I think as an owner, manager, senior leadership member, it'd be worth thinking about the pressure that we put on staff and thinking about their working practices and what we're expecting them to do. And I think also, because of the times we're in, the COVID times we're in, people are thinking and feeling a little bit differently as well. Again, part of the delegated course that we look at is how COVID has put far more pressure on people going to work, and also how they're feeling by maybe feeling isolated from their community and their work colleagues as well. Maybe it's a lack of control over the work that the person's doing, and potentially it could be poor supervision from their management. And again, if you're not currently doing any kind of staff surveys or talking to staff on a regular basis, it would absolutely be worth doing that, just to see how staff are feeling, because they may not actually tell you face to face, but they may be suffering from a problem, but also they may feel that they're not supported in the workplace. Is there bullying? Is there stigma? And are there any bad relationships that are taking place in the workplace? And I think really all owners, managers, directors need to get around the workplace, talk to staff, see what's going on, see if they can spot anything. Because again, you'd be surprised what you see walking around the shop floor, so to speak. Have there been any traumatic experiences? And that doesn't necessarily mean to say an accident, but there's a number of different things that things could have happened in the workplace. Whether there's a bullying issue, there could have been an assault, there could have been a robbery, there could have been, unfortunately, an occupational accident, there could have been a death on site. There's a number of different things that can, whilst one person can brush that aside and be, yes, I'm fine, don't worry about me, somebody else may deal with that very differently, and they may need some kind of support. They need to talk to somebody, may need some kind of counselling session. They may feel that there's a lack of involvement when the workplace is undergoing change. And I think we're right in the middle of that at the moment. People are working in a different way. Businesses and industry are working in a different way. We're only just coming out of lockdown 2.0, and different, depends on where you live. You could be in a very different tier to somebody else, and you probably will be. That would then have an effect on whether you're going to allow staff back into the building, and if they do come back into the building, how you're then going to socially distance them, how you're going to make sure they're safe and also feel comfortable and confident to come back in. So are we talking to our staff? Are we involving them in the process? Are you making sure they feel comfortable with what's going on? Inadequate pay and problems receiving pay, and maybe a lack of reward, is also a factor that affects people's mental health. We understand that recognition, and I think it's important to think about. It's not always about money that makes people tick. Sometimes it's just telling someone they've done a really good job. Sometimes it's just maybe buying them a bar of chocolate, or sending them a nice email. It doesn't always have to be about commission structures and big pay. It's often about somebody thinking they've contributed to the organisation and contributed to the end product and the goal, and they just want to feel valued and encouraged. So don't always think it's about pay and commission and bonuses. That will absolutely make some people work harder, and there's a correlation between monetary gain and also output, but also it may just be about words and acknowledgement. Again, this is sort of delving into the world of safety, but dangerous or poor physical working environments may have a massive impact on somebody's mental health, that they feel they're going into an environment that's not safe. They feel that they're not being kept safe, and that could be from a safety perspective with regards to personal protective equipment. It could be the working practices, it could be machinery, it could be equipment. It could also be that you're asking them to do a job they don't feel competent to do. So just think about whether you've trained, supervised and instructed that person in the right way, and also you're providing a clean, safe and welcoming environment for that person. There's a number of different legislation, so to speak, and guidance that is available, and they all in some way pertain to our mental health capacity, and what we're not going to have time to do today is to go through them all in depth. Again, if you're interested, on the delegated course we do kind of break these open a bit more. But you've got the NICE guidelines, National Institute for Health and Care Excellence. So I'm not sure if you're aware of those. I'm pretty sure a lot of you will be. But if you Google NICE or the NICE guidelines, there's a section on there that talks about mental health and things you can do as well. Obviously, we've got our NHS provider across the UK, and we've got the HSE, the Health and Safety Executive, and underneath that we've got their primary piece of health and safety at work legislation, and in there it talks about the health and well-being of staff. And certainly if you're employing more than 5 members of staff, you need to think about welfare facilities, you need to think about safety, you need to think about risk assessments and all the various documents and things that come with that. Even if you're not employing 5 people or more, I would still suggest you do all of that for all of the reasons we talked about today. You've got the various different mental health acts, the Mental Health Act and the Mental Capacity Act, and again the Equality Act, the HR Act and data protection. So in some way, all of these different pieces of legislation and guidance have an impact on mental health. And again, as a business owner, director, member of a senior leadership team, it'd be really worth looking into which pieces of these legislations and acts would benefit your workforce, and whether or not you are actually achieving what the Act and the regulations are asking you to achieve. That's a nice picture of some boxes. 595,000 workers suffered from work-related stress in that 1 year, 2017 to 18. So if you can just think about the figures there, that's a lot of people. And these 600,000 workers suffer from stress, depression or anxiety. A further 239,000 suffered from a new case of work-related stress, and these are all figures from the HSE. These are not my figures. These are what have come from you know, awarding bodies, so to speak. So it's worth again clicking on those websites to have a little look. But there's some big ones coming up. 15.4 million working days lost due to work-related stress, depression or anxiety. Is there anything as an employer that you could have done to think about your staff not suffering from that? The impact on your business as well by having that amount of working days lost in your business. Working days lost due to stress, depression or anxiety account for 57% of all working days lost. So way over half of people being off work is due to a mental health issue, which we would talk about being stress, depression or anxiety. So a lot of people would have thought it may have been a fall from height, a slip, trip or fall, a burn, an accident, whatever it might be, but nearly 60% are due to a mental health issue. And then the main cause of work-related stress, depression or anxiety was due to people's workload, which then accounted for 44% of all those cases. So again, thinking about the workload the pressures we're putting on people, deadlines, timescales, things like that. I think a big one as well is asking somebody to do a number of different roles aside of their own. So it's very common for somebody to be employed, and then 6 to 12 months down the line, they're then asked to take on a further responsibility, and then a further responsibility again. And so all of a sudden, somebody is doing 3 or 4 jobs, and they just feel they can't cope with that job. They don't want to talk about it, and eventually, unfortunately, go off due to workload issues. And then 1 in 6.8 people experience mental health problems in the workplace. So that's quite a big stat. And if you think about your workplace, and if you maybe work with 68 people, you could have potentially 10 of those that have or experienced a work-related mental health problem. And interestingly, women in full-time employment are nearly twice as likely to have a common mental health problem as full-time employed men. And then evidence suggests that 12.7% of all sickness absence days in the UK can be attributed to mental health. And again, they're not my stats or figures, they are the HSE And if you'd like to look at it, it's the summary stats for Great Britain. They're generally produced every couple of years. So as a business owner, MD, CEO, it really would be worth getting that white paper, summary stats for Great Britain, and have a look at that, because there's loads of stuff in there, from safety information, accidents at work, fire safety, mental health, welfare, insurance claims. There's loads of stuff in there that you could have a look at. Hopefully that's useful. So what I'd like you to do, and I think from the people that was on the webinar on Tuesday, you know I'm quite keen on you thinking about things, and I think it's quite important. And again, I'm only going to give you 60 seconds to do this, but I want you to think about, how is mental health managed where you work? Is it well managed where you work? And how can my workplace improve? And what we're not going to do is, what I'm not going to get you to do is feedback. You know, you can feedback personally if you wish to. It's just an exercise I want you to do for yourself. I want you to take those 60 seconds and just really think about how mental health is managed in your workplace. Do you think it's well managed, from the things we talked about on Tuesday and from the few things we talked about today, and also what you already know? And then think about maybe how that could be improved. I think it could be quite thought-provoking. I think it could be quite interesting for yourself, just to gain a little bit of realization. So if you'd like to take that for 60 seconds, I'll time it, and have a think from now. Okay, I think we're there or thereabouts. What I'd like to do is just probably open up the floor, maybe for just a couple of minutes, Kate, just to see if anybody would like to feedback in a positive or negative manner. Do you think your mental health is well managed? Do you think it's considered at work? And are there any things that you think you can do to improve? So maybe 3 or 4 minutes, if anybody would like to share, would be great. If you don't feel obliged to do so.
I'm happy to share what we've been doing, Dom.
Okay.
But obviously you know most of what we've been up to. So I mean, ours related to kind of lockdown. We conscious that our staff were probably going through the busiest period of their life, supporting clients with furlough questions and potentially even making people redundant. So we knew they weren't having nice conversations all day every day. So we made sure that we gave them extra 3 days lockdown leave, we called it, to make sure that they were getting time for themselves when they were working in a busy period. This was in addition to their sort of annual leave. And then we also arranged a session so that they thought about their own mental health. So there was a trainer that came in, and this was pre-Dom, a trainer that arranged a Microsoft Teams call to sort of make people aware of how to manage their own mental health in what is been a challenging time for many HR practitioners. Obviously now we have Dom. We're training our team up on mental health first aid as well. So whilst Dom is trained, he's also training some of our team as well. It makes it harder, obviously, being remote, keeping an eye on people where you might be able to see people's emotions in an office. So our team interact with each other through the day on Teams and other sort of material, other tools, but you need to look out for each other, and we're just kind of going through a process of training people in mental health first aid so they can be aware of it and keep an eye out on each other as well. The other thing we have is an employee assistance program as well, which is more to signpost people towards help rather than sort of helping identify it in the first place. So ideally we'll sort of identify it, but then also point them somewhere where they can talk to somebody professionally, and that EAP also offers face-to-face sessions if that's needed as well to support them further.
Thanks, Greg. Really good. And has anybody else got anything similar they'd like to share, or if there's things that aren't happening maybe? So happy to anybody else to speak.
Could I just say, Dominic,
Yeah, of course.
that as part of the chamber membership, we have, as part of your membership, obviously you pay yearly for, there are benefits, and part of those is direct link to HR related issues. So if you feel that there is something lacking in your workplace and you would like to speak to somebody, then or your own business, you want to improve what you have there, you can also contact us at the chamber, and we can point you in the right direction as well.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think that's good. It's good to. Yeah, absolutely.
Of course you can.
I think it's all about support, really, and I think the more that we understand what support is available, whether it be in a professional business sense or whether it be in the community, it's important. I think what you don't want to do is get into a situation where something happens, and then you have to then think, well, who do I talk to? What am I going to do? I don't know what I'm doing. So I think absolutely worth seeing and making it available to staff, whether it's through an employee assistance program, whether it's through the chamber, whether it's giving links to local support groups, whether it's national support groups, whether it's us, maybe it's pulling something together so that you've got that in a central resource area in the workplace, much the same as you probably would safety documents, so anybody can go and look at a board and go, oh, okay, I need a chat about so and so, these are my options. So I just think it's just a responsible and nice thing to do. I'm hoping you found that useful, that 60-second thing. I think I'm quite keen on doing that for a number of things, just to take that 60 seconds off and just really think about, are we doing this? What could we be doing? And is it working? And you can just obviously apply that to anything you're doing, really. So if we move on to thinking about maybe building a positive mental health culture for employers, and we've kind of touched on some of it already, and Greg's already mentioned some of the things that we're doing as an organisation. Good mental health and wellbeing, it's one of the most valuable assets to the organisation. Your staffing structure is probably the biggest outlay that you've got on a monthly basis. If you think about who you've got working for you, but if they're productive and positive, they're going to make your business even more successful. And what we don't want is increased days off. But there's a few steps here that we can think about. Developing a mental health action plan and policy. You may already have one in place, so that's great. But if you haven't, think about maybe having a mental health policy. And there's a number of different ones out there, and you can add or take away as much as you wish. Like Greg was saying, we've all benefited from the extra days off over lockdown. We've got an employee assistance program. There's regular communication, things like that. But it'd be good to have it documented in a way that all the staff would know about it and understand it. Are you thinking about any kind of training? So provide mental health training across the organisation. I think it's important to think about training doesn't have to be about sitting in a classroom for a week with a trainer. That is absolutely one way of training people. I'm all for face-to-face courses, getting to know the delegate base and having group sessions together. But equally, you could do that through online training. But you could also do it through toolbox talks. It doesn't have to be an hour-long session, 3 or 4 hours long. It could just be a 15-minute session with 3 or 4 employees grabbed together over a coffee. Right, we're going to talk about mental health. Here's a quick video to watch. And let's pick it up next week as well, and then do the same session with another group. So there's various different ways that you can provide training for those employees. It could be that you need to look at job roles to accommodate new responsibilities, and we talked about that earlier in the presentation. If you've got a defined need in the business to maybe add on responsibilities, but you don't want to employ maybe a full-time equivalent, and you need to probably disseminate that across different people, then you may have to think about adjusting job roles to accommodate those responsibilities, rather than just saying, can you now look after this as well as what you're doing? It could be that you want to publicise what your organisation's intent is to mental health and commitment, and that can be through internally, through maybe newsletters, forums, webinars, whatever it might be. Equally, you've all got social media channels as well, and it'd be great for all the employees to know what your commitment is. And I think evaluating the possible causes of mental ill health in the workplace is really important. Obviously, it's not dissimilar to a risk assessment. You would certainly risk assess safety issues, equipment, people, tasks, activities, whatever that might be. I would put this in the same light, that you need to evaluate the possible causes, look at the workplace, look at what you're doing, look at your processes, and think about whether there are any potential causes of mental health that you can just eradicate or change or control. ensuring employers and senior management spend more time communicating. I think this is a really big one. You know, there's certainly still in places I go to the kind of managing director in the office with the door closed mentality, and you know, nobody dare talk to that person because they're seen as this kind of powerful figure that you know, or I better not say the wrong thing. Yeah, get out there as an employer. If you're a senior manager, go and talk to the workforce. You know, get around. Do you actually know what they even do? Have you personally met everybody that's joined the company and said hello? So this kind of open door policy, I'm really in favour of. Yes, you've got a job to do. Yes, you've got to be strategic. Yes, you've got the board meetings and all that kind of stuff. But can you physically get round and say hello? Because I think it makes a massive difference. If you just joined a company, maybe you're a young, impressionable graduate potentially. If the MD's come up and shook your hand and said, you know, welcome on board, I think you're doing a great job. You know, my door's always open, and if you need any help, please come and have a chat with me. That is massive. And I think it makes younger staff feel really acknowledged. Monitoring employee performance and providing recognition, we've already talked about. Doesn't have to be the big bonus checks. It could just be a staff day out. It could just be a meal voucher. It could just be an extra day's annual leave. It could be something that will mean a lot to that person, but maybe won't have a massive financial impact on the company. Introducing networks, initiative and activities involving mental health and communicating this via the company's maybe intranet, news bulletins and workplace communal areas. We've talked about that, but is it visual? Can everybody see what you're doing and what's going on with regards to your commitment to mental health? And then health services return to work schemes, maybe allowing flexible working hours to help employees meet personal responsibilities. I think we're all in that boat at the moment with regards to the furlough scheme, with regards to COVID, lockdown, whatever it might be. But are we going to keep that kind of going as and when we're back to what I'd call, in inverted commas, normal? And do we involve our staff in decision making? And obviously that can't always be the case. You know, strategic level decisions have to be made at a board level, senior SLT level. It happens in our organisation, but can we? Could there be a working group? Could you have different members of different departments on a working group so that all members of the team and all levels feel that they're part of the way the machine's running and where you're actually going? Have you done a mental health risk assessment there? I'm more than happy to share ones that I've done in the past. Equally, there are a number available online, but have you actually picked it all up in a risk assessment? And I think importantly, a stress risk assessment. It's not to say that you need to do that because you feel that there's too much workload on people, but it could be that the stress risk assessment will pick up really small things, and it could just be picking up different ways staff feel acknowledged. They are actually, as part of the stress risk assessment, they would do a self-assessment to feel they're being talked about. Have they got a voice in the organisation? So there's a staff survey part of that. Not sure if anybody's heard of WAPS. I've had to do a couple recently. Workplace Wellness Action Plan, really good. Again, I think this is available on our knowledge database on HR Solutions. I've done a couple for some businesses we're working with, and it just really brings it all together. What are we doing for staff with regards to mental health? Are we looking at stress? Have we got a policy? Have we got a commitment? And it's all brought together in the Workplace Wellness Action Plan. Do we provide counselling, mental health services and coaching sessions? I was recently, or about 3 years ago, involved in a death on site, unfortunately, of a colleague. I won't go into the details, but at that point, they hadn't got any of this in place. And the ramifications and how it made the rest of the workforce feel was huge. And unfortunately, the owner was just scratching around for days, thinking about, well, what do I do? Who do I talk to? Get it together now. Not saying you're going to have a death on site at all, but should the worst ever happen, if you've got all this in place, you can just get it out of a folder or send the links around to everybody, and you can put the wheels into motion. What you don't want to be doing is then doing that when you've got to talk to someone's family, think about how what's going to happen next. So put it in place as we speak. Flexibility for time off for those that need it. Maybe they've got sickness or illness in the family or children. Promote better work-life balances, and I think we all suffer from that. And it was only talking to Kate before this webinar that I realised that the job I was doing before joining HR Solutions was certainly not work-life balance at all. It was more about work and flying around the country and doing 1,000 miles a week. And it was only the lockdown that made me realise spending time with my family, teaching my daughter to do stuff was really important. So think about better work-life balances. Can you hold events to promote positive mental health, bringing the company together as and when we go back to normal, maybe family days, maybe team building days? It could just be, as I said, toolbox talks to talk about how you can make people think and feel a bit different. Giving employees access to meditation apps and online mental health resources. There's so much out there now that you could pioneer to staff on the tech front. So mental health on apps it can monitor how staff are feeling. They can check in and talk about what they're doing, what they've done at work. And there's no one that's better than another. There's a load of different ones out there, but having built some of the stuff for the course I'm teaching next week, I didn't realize just how much technology there is out there so that people can really feel that they've got a voice and they can talk to somebody. Yes, it's a phone, but they can check in, and then the app will then send them recommendations. Have you thought about doing this? Why don't you go and do that? And they're really, really good, and generally they're free. So I would suggest maybe think about an app. Maybe it's a mental health app, maybe it's a relaxation app, it could be a stress app. There's a number that do everything that you could then say that's going to be your nominated app. Could you appoint a mental health champion and or a working group? Is there one person in your group, your organization or office that you think actually they'd be really good at talking to people? They'd be really good because you haven't got the time to do it. As the owner or director, you may not have the time to be doing this sort of stuff, but is there somebody who could potentially be doing it and you could put them on some training and get them to be the mental health champion? What can the staff do? So building a positive mental health culture from the workers' perspective, they could educate themselves on mental health and well-being, and they could participate in workplace initiatives. If you're doing things and you're doing activities and training, my view would be that you want everybody to be involved. Are there people that don't get involved? Why don't they get involved? Do they not see the benefit in doing stuff? So I think it's breaking down the barriers of, got to go on another course, another webinar, it's a training event, it's boring, whatever it might be. It's trying to understand why they feel that way. Make effort to talk to their colleagues and ask how they're feeling. Can you get into a culture where everybody goes and talks to at least 3 people a day and asks what they did over the weekend and find out something about each other? I work for a company where we had to do that, and it might sound a little bit silly and a bit childish, but you actually get to know different people, because guess what, as people we tend to gravitate towards the people that are a bit like us, a bit like people that emulate us. And you go and talk to people that have similar interests, or go and talk to people that you don't know. Go and talk to people that don't have similar interests and see if you can find out a bit more about them. I think that's quite an important thing to do. Don't be afraid to talk to someone about thoughts and feelings. I think that needs to be part of the culture in the working environment. You know, don't be afraid to talk to any of us about how you're feeling, because your bad day is also my bad day and someone else's bad day. So, you know, let's all talk about it together. Challenge workplace politics. Unfortunately, we see it on a regular basis, and I'm working with clients and have worked with clients where there's politics and there's this kind of shop steward and foreman effect, where, you know, the workforce are against the management and the management are against them and all this kind of stuff. We want to try and eradicate that. Let's try and have a positive culture where we are. And show an interest in colleagues' opinions, cultures and beliefs. We are working largely in a very multicultural society, as we all know. And there's going to be different people from different places, different races, different religions. And, you know, no one is any more important than another. So it's about encompassing and actively involving everybody together. And then build friendships with colleagues and organise to meet up outside of the working environment. Some people don't want to do this. Some people love meeting up outside, but it may not be always over a beer, and it doesn't have to always be alcohol related. It could be other stuff as well. So can we pioneer that? And there's just a few more I'm going to flash up as one, really. Make the most of lunch breaks. Just some ideas. Eat healthily, read a book, listen to music. I think none of us take probably the proper lunch breaks we should. I'm not sure if Greg's on the phone still, on the call still, but I know I don't. It's one task after another task after another task. So think about actively building in that 30 to 60 minutes in and turning things off. Go for a walk, have your lunch break, maybe read something, listen to music, then come back, and you'll be surprised how much better you feel. Take a break once in a while and make the most out of your annual leave. Please don't feel you can't take annual leave. We're all under pressure, but you need that time off to be with your family and to recharge your batteries. And the famous R&R comes into play. Time is precious. Ensure you have good work-life balances and make sure you have good sleep patterns and listen to what your body's telling you. Really, really important. Could you put that on a poster? Can you put something up so staff understand what they can do in their downtime at break times or whatever it might be? The impact of a positive mental health culture, increased awareness of mental health, and staff will be likely to disclose their problems if you're in that kind of culture. There's absolutely a correlation, and I talked about this on Tuesday, with improved productivity and teamwork and staff morale. If we've got a positive mental health culture, staff feel they're acknowledged, praised, and encouraged, which is an acronym APE, acknowledge, praise, encourage. I think if you want to use that, please do so. It's really, really powerful. There's models around that you can use, and the productivity of staff and working, sickness working it all comes into to play. It attracts new job talent. People want to come and work for the company where everybody has fun and enjoys themselves, and there's benefits, and there's no safety issues, and everybody's happy. I think that would be absolutely embraced. Your business reputation also, you know, again, funding new projects, winning new business, whatever that might be. Certainly if you're going for contracts and things like that, it gets around with, you know, about your reputation. And certainly in smaller industries, every company knows everybody else. And when people leave to go to a different company, they're going to be, you don't want to work with them. Terrible attitude, whatever it might be. So think about your reputation. It's going to reduce absences and staff turnover, and really overall is going to reduce the business costs, because every time someone's off sick, you've obviously got to pay them. They're not doing their job. Somebody else has probably got to pick that up. That's then going to create negativity. If we can obviously reduce all of these things to as less as they can be, it's going to have a massive impact. What can you do to help yourself? Spend quality time with family and friends. Exercise, massive. Obviously, we know it releases endorphins, makes people feel better, potentially lose some weight, get a bit fitter. That won't float everybody's boat. I get that. Some people don't want to do exercise at all, but what can they do differently? Have you got maybe a fitness facility, sports facility you could partner up with, where they'll do cheaper memberships, where they'll actively come in, maybe run some staff MOT days, stuff like that. So employee benefits is huge. We all know about the benefits of eating and maintaining a healthy diet. Could it be that you give healthy snacks out in the workplace? In the vending machine, you put an equal amount of healthy snacks as well as the naughty stuff that we all enjoy as well. Can you put bowls of fruit out on a free fruit Friday, for instance, that type of stuff to encourage people from eating healthily? Sleep, obviously, massive one there. Reading books, listening to music, learning a new skill. Can you put on something that they could be involved with? I worked for a fitness network that allowed us all to undertake a new language and paid for it. Of the 22 staff that worked at head office, I think 6 or 7 learnt Spanish. And it was a weekly commitment of about 2 hours on a Monday, where a Spanish teacher would come in and spend 2 hours with everybody who wanted to do it. It was paid for by the company, and over, I think, a 12-month period, six or 7 people actually learned basic Spanish, which was great. And I think they then moved on to a different language and a different skill. So it didn't cost particularly a lot of money, but it was something that people could get involved with. Gardening, hobbies and clubs, taking a breaks and holidays, community working, meditation we've talked about, and obviously GP visits if you've got anything further. And I think it's important to let staff know that should they have any major concerns on their mental or physical health, you know, please go and see your GP. Please go and get an appointment, and you would absolutely allow them the time off to do that. What can you do to help yourself? Talk. Really, really important. And I've done quite a lot of that today, so apologies if you're fed up with my voice, because I am. Get staff talking. The biggest thing they can do is talk to people about their issues, and it's not about you taking on their problems. It's probably you helping them find solutions. And certainly under mental health is really important. Don't be hard on yourself. If you feel you've got a mental health issue, guess what? Probably other people have got the same issue as well. But what I would say is take responsibility. If you've got an issue, talk to somebody. Find out what there is available online. Do your company have a policy? Do they provide services? Can you look at an app rather than say, I don't know what to do? Take some responsibility. And I think use tech. We talked about that earlier. There's a whole load of stuff, and just on that screen there, 23 mental health apps to download. They're free. use them. Some are better than others, but just Google mental health apps and you just be surprised what comes up and how easy they are to use, and how you could get staff using those, and maybe yourself. And 5 steps to mental health well-being would be: connect, be active, keep learning, give to others, and be mindful. And this is the NHS model. This is not me. This is the NHS model that they suggest that you kind of live your 5 steps into our day-to-day lives. And we're just going to quickly whiz through those now, because I'm mindful of time a little bit. Connect with people around you, your family, friends, colleagues, and neighbours. Spend time with developing these relationships. That's fine, but there's a number of people that are isolated, and certainly at the moment, people that are shielded and vulnerable, whatever it might be. So if you know people, pick the phone up. Just give them a quick ring. It means a lot. They may not speak to people for days on end. I've got an elderly grandmother. I can see her because she lives kind of next door to me. But sometimes, unless I call her, nobody else will call her that day. So that one phone call is massive, and she looks forward to it. And we have a 10-minute chat. So that could be the same with yourselves, and try and actively connect with people. Be active. You don't have to go to the gym, but you can take a walk, go cycling, play football. We talked about gardening. There's a number of different things you can do, but find an activity that you enjoy and try and make it part of your daily life. Could you have a walking club at work? Again, I work for a different company where every day at midday, a walking club would walk around the whole perimeter of the site 10 times. And gradually it went from 2 to 5 to 10 to 20 people doing it. It was fun. Could you not think about something like that? Keep learning. Learning new skills can give you the sense of achievement and new confidence. So why not think about a cooking course, start learning to play an instrument, figure out how to fix your bike. And again, I'd add the new language on there as well. I think you'd be really surprised how cost effective it would be to get a French, Spanish or German tutor in once a week if people want to learn a new language. And give to others. Even the smallest act can count. A smile, a thank you, a kind word. Larger acts such as volunteering in community can improve mental health and well-being and help build new social networks. I've got a really good example of this. I've got a friend who unfortunately had an occupational injury about a month ago, and he basically ripped his thumb in half. I won't show the pictures because it's pretty graphic, but he now can't work till February, and he's that bored and he's that depressed that he can't work. He's actually gone to volunteer at his local food bank, and he's absolutely loving it. So he's down there every day, talking to people, looking after the food bank. He walks there, so he's getting exercise. He's talking to people, and he feels like he's really giving back to his local area where he's lived for a number of years. So, not saying that is right for everybody, but it's right for him. And I think be mindful, be more aware of the present moment, including your thoughts and feelings, your body, and the world around you. Some people call this awareness, mindfulness. It's just the positive change that you feel you can make on a daily basis, and maybe a different way that you can approach challenges. And we all have challenges in our daily life that are very different from each other, whether it's family, work, financial, whatever it might be. And guess what? We can't probably solve those on a daily basis, but can we approach them in a different way to see if that will help us think or feel a little bit different? And again, for the people that were here on Tuesday, I've used the same slide only because there's a number of different people who are on today. There's so many different links and information out there for people that are suffering with anxiety, bipolar, stress and depression. You've got Alcoholics Anonymous on there. You've got the rape crisis line on there. Talk to Frank about drugs and alcohol. And then there's one here for people that would like to text, which is called Shout, which is a crisis line. Obviously, you've got Samaritans, and we all know about Mind. There's loads of others, but these are the main ones. If you want to take a screenshot of that, please do so. I'm also sure that Kate will send this around, and the presentation will be made available to anybody that wants to revisit any of these slides. And really just about further training. We are holding these on a delegated basis at the Kettering Park Hotel. It's COVID secure, socially distanced. And the first, well, I say the first, I've done 3 already, but we're doing one on Monday, probably short notice for everybody. But Monday is actually the level 2 first aid for mental health course. And then the following Monday is safeguarding level 3, all nationally accredited and governing body approved. £99 per course, or you can do both for £180 as chamber members. That includes everything: refreshments, lunch, parking, all the resources and books, the exam fee and certificate. The only downside is you have to spend the day with me, but hopefully that would be a positive thing rather than a negative. Getting really great feedback about the courses that we've done so far, If you can't attend these, we're going to be doing more in the new year, but these are the next series that are coming up, and I'd love to welcome you to those if you feel like you want to come. If you've got any further questions, and I'm conscious of time today, more than happy to take those on a personal basis. Please connect with me. Office and personal phone numbers on that slide, as is my email address on our company website. I also offer a free 30-minute health, safety and wellness call for anybody. Don't feel obliged, but if you want to talk about anything health, safety, fire safety, training related, please contact me. And please make sure you sign up to our newsletter. Again, it's free, helps you stay in the loop and keep up to date with all HR solutions stuff, which is safety related, Brexit related, furlough related, training related, and industry guidance and news. It's free. You don't have to be a client of ours to gain the benefit from that. So please sign up to that. Again, take a screenshot of that if you'd like to, or just get it when Kate comes, sends it around. It's a weekly update, and then you'll be surprised what's on there. We also run bi-weekly and monthly webinars, a bit like this one. I've recently done statutory compliance, fire safety, health and safety, but we've done employment law and all the rest of it. So again, we'd love to welcome you onto those. They're all free as well. And that brings me really to the end with about 10 minutes to go. Really appreciate everybody being on, and I'd just like to thank the Chamber for having us on this week. I've thoroughly enjoyed the two sessions I've done, and I've really enjoyed the ones I've been on as a delegate. And I know HR Solutions are really pleased to have been asked to kind of sponsor this week, and looking forward to next year when I think we're going to be doing something similar with the Chamber. So thanks, Kate, and your team, because I think it's been great. More than happy to take any questions, or if anybody wants to talk at this point, then please do so. Thank you for having me. Hopefully it's been useful, and I look forward to talking to you all again. Thank you. Back to you, Kate.
Thank you, Dominic. Another really, really interesting webinar again today. Thank you so much for everything you've done. Anybody got anything I'd like to share? Any comments, any questions, or? Okay, so we've got something in the chat, so let's have a quick look. So from Julian, he said, there has been a suggestion that a work-life balance can infer that these two are conflicting, whereas it may be better to seek a work-life harmony. Oh, I like that, actually.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I think it's not something I'd considered before, but yeah, I like the play on words there, and yeah, I'll take that. And that could be something that you write into your own workplaces, policies and procedures, and use different terminology it means the same thing largely, but yeah, I like the word harmony. It totally is cohesive with what we're talking about. So yeah, great point, Julian. I like that.
Thank you. That's a really interesting. Never really thought of it that way. And
no, not me.
It makes the work part of the work-life balance seem a bit negative, doesn't it? And so
yep.
Actually, you know, many of us are fortunate. We love our jobs, so that is a great part of our life, you know, as well as our home life too. No, really interesting. That's a lot of food for thought there. Anybody else got anything they'd like to add? I don't know if anyone's got their hands up. Let me have a look. No? Okay, well, that's lovely. Dominic's shared his details, so if you do want to reach out to him on a personal level, on a private level, then please do so. He's very welcoming to those questions or anything you'd like to talk about at all. So I think it's just for me to close the session. Thank you so much for being with us today at the end of our Wellbeing Week. We've just got this afternoon's event left to go, which is a networking event. We have our Friday wind down, but we've called it a Wellbeing wind down. We're just going to talk on a very sort of high level about how we keep ourselves positive, happy, how we turn a bad day around potentially, because we all get them from time to time. So we're nothing too deep, lots of fun, lots of a relaxed atmosphere, informal. But it'd be great to see you there if you'd like to come. So big thank you to Dominic and HR Solutions for supporting the event, and also for the two awesome webinars. I will share the slide deck and the links to the playback of the webinar. Thank you very much for coming. If you need anything else, please be in touch. Have a great day. Thank you very much.